Well, hello. Good morning, everyone. Today is Sunday, December 22nd, 2024. And yesterday was the solstice. And this is, as of Christmas Day, just a few days away, will mark the 2-year anniversary of me showing up on Sundays, some Sundays, right? Not all Sundays, to have a chat and do a tuning. And, it's interesting. Usually when I come in and I sit down, if I haven't already chosen a theme, it will come to me. But I don't have a theme today. And so I'm going to look to y'all and find out what your needs or challenges are at this time. I've covered a lot of topics. I've covered a lot of sensitive and difficult topics. Not that I'm running out of ideas, but that just seems like, or we could just do nothing and I could just start tuning and see what wants to come up. I'm just going to look at a few comments here. Our son won't talk to us. I wonder if that's political. It's unfortunate that in the world of divide and conquer, there are so many ways that we can become sort of artificially divided. I think that that was a big theme this past fall. Just a tune, starting a new chapter. This is technically the end of, or yesterday was the end of the solar year. So it's the beginning of a new solar year for all of us. And I read something about how next year, all the 5 major planets are moving into new houses. So for those of you who follow astrology, which I find increasingly fascinating the more I learn about it, that we're moving into a new era altogether. That 2025 is going to be a year of a lot of change on a lot of levels, right? And that can be scary. There's certainly plenty of threats of violence. There always is, right? There's always fear mongering going on from the alternative media, from the non-alternative media. There are tiny boogeymen and giant boogeymen everywhere out to get us. And ergo, we should all live in fear all the time, fear and division, right? And that's not a state of health. And I think that if you follow me, you know that I'm fascinated by what it is that makes and keeps us healthy and even thriving, because I think that's a weird sacrilege in our current culture, is to be well, to be whole, to have good relations with loved ones. Drama is often the order of the day. So, how can we, in this game of life that we're playing, how can we bypass all of these divisive, uncomfortable pitfalls and navigate our way around the minefield of all the things that can set us off into dysregulation and fussing, right? Nervous system regulation. That I think so much of it comes down to that, because you can expose 2 people to the same stressors, and whoever is more resilient is going to generally manage that better. In fact, I've been thinking about this because my friend Dr. Tom Cowan, who some of you may know of and follow, is the consummate contrarian, and he is always questioning everything in the paradigm. I think that I'm pretty good at stepping back and winding lines and questioning things, but Tom questioned things that it never even occurs to me to question. And so it's always making me think. And lately, some of the people in my world have been making the claim that there's no such thing as an immune system, right? Which is, can be really shocking and offensive to some people. And I think if that lands on you in this shocking and offensive way, like, of course we have an immune system, I just invite you to step back and wind the lens, So I started thinking about, like, how can I address this concept of immunity, but taking out this immune system concept and create a conversation that's useful around it, whether it exists or not. But I think that fundamentally a better way to frame it is in the topic of resiliency, because a resilient system can take a hit and, maybe wobble a bit, but not go down or get spun. Um, and I think that rather than this idea of building immunity, uh, we build resiliency. I mean, you can build immunity as well with your zinc or whatever. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, a lot of what takes us down is stress. It's stress, right? It's stress from bad characters. It's stress from toxins in the environment. It's stress from, just the modern world. And very often people get sick after periods of stress. And so I think rather than holding the paradigm of wanting to build our immunity, it might be more useful at the end of the day, because I'm always looking for what is useful, to think about what it means to build resiliency, Okay, I'm just going to take a quick look. Fear and tendency to isolate. A system that transmutes and alchemizes. Yeah, it's like this. I'm going to take this hit, I'm going to alchemize it, I'm going to transmute it, I'm going to bounce with it. I recently saw a video of people in these giant, obviously very resilient plastic bubbles, out with a bull that was hitting them and sending them sailing. And I was like, oh, that's the idea of a strong biofield and the resiliency that it creates, that you can take a hit like that and not go down so hard, right? It made me think of a healthy biofield, and what that provides for us. All right. Yeah, so maybe we will talk and do a tuning on resiliency, because I think really that addresses like all the comments that I'm seeing in here, right? It's natural for us to feel sadness, especially if something terribly grievous happens, and it can really take us down. But it ultimately comes down to, do you bounce? What does your bounce look like? Truly, the more space and strength you have in your biofield, the better you're going to be able to take a hit, no matter what it is. I got food poisoning recently, from a bad cappuccino, of all things. My favorite thing, got me. It was a takeout one, and I became violently ill, like, losing it at both ends. But what was kind of amazing to me was, that it didn't really move the needle of my overall energy level at all. It happened the first day of a 3-day class in the afternoon, and I was able to come back and teach 2 more days without really noticing any kind of diminishment of my overall energy level, right? So because I have an extremely resilient and responsive system, it got rid of the poison very quickly. But then I really stayed upright through it. That's not immunity, right? That is not my immune system. That is really more of the tensile integrity of the structure of my being. And so I would say, as we go into this new year, this new era, that building resiliency in ourselves is probably the best thing, that we can do. So maybe we'll do a tuning for resiliency. But yeah, shields up, right? Shields up. I love the Star Trek model of, that, having shields, and the shields protect you, and that when your shields go down, you become a lot more vulnerable, right? And in the Star Trek model, the ability for their shields to be up is completely related to the amount of power that is being generated. So if the power system goes down, then the shields go down. And this really, in the biofield model, speaks to what I talk about voltage, this idea of raising your voltage and keeping your energy level high. I think that is key. And I often do, I ask people, like, on a scale of 1 to 100, if you have an inner battery meter, where is your battery meter at right now? What is your shield strength? Because ultimately, they're kind of one and the same, right? So if you had a number drop in as far as like your battery meter level, share it in the chat if you're inclined, and don't be ashamed if if it's low. We all have, life puts us through different things, and sometimes we're in those valleys. But I think another thing, if you are setting health goals for this upcoming year, that a really simple and good one is to raise your battery meter, and to get that strong. And honestly, in order to do that, you need to be selfish. You need to learn to put yourself first, put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you go attending to others. And this can be a very, very hard lesson for us to learn, especially if we're taking care of kids, if we're taking care of aged parents. It's not easy. I've certainly run my battery into the ground solidly, not once, but twice. so I've absolutely been there in that low battery place. And I have the luxury now where I'm not taking care of parents, I'm not taking care of kids. It's a lot easier for me to take care of me. So I'm just going to take a look at some of these numbers. Somebody's got 98. Hooray. 6, right? Well, there's a huge contrast, right? So what's the person who has their battery at 98 doing that the person who's at 6 isn't, right? And I find that our ability to take care of ourselves, to tend to our batteries, is directly related to our self-worth, unfortunately. I mean, everything regarding our well-being, so much comes down to whether we feel worthy or not. And that's a hard mind virus to wiggle out of, for sure. It really gets a grip on us. And when we feel like we're not good enough, we have an inner critic that beats us up. An inner critic will take your battery down fast. Because if that voice was outside of you, speaking those words to you, like right in your face, like how shrinking is that? Right? And I don't know, most of us would allow that outside of us, but for some odd blind spot reason, we allow it inside of us. So, okay, 7, 80, 56, 50, 66. Yeah. Well, I just want to tell you, like at 50, at 60, if you take a hit, it's likely you're gonna go down, right? So we just translate battery meter to shield strength. And this is not a world to have low shields in for so many reasons. So maybe collectively we can set the intention to educate ourselves and to avail ourselves to the things that raise our meter. So a very, very simple one is, when you think about doing something, does it make you feel, or does it make you feel, ugh? And if it makes you feel, you have to step back and question, like, why am I doing this? Or is there a way to do this differently so that it feels like an ah? Because very often the feeling of is a habit. It's just a habit. And maybe your mom or your dad did the same thing, and you're just kind of carrying along with the song of in your system all the time. The only one who can change the song from to ah is you. Nobody can do that for you. And you can't necessarily wait for like life to line up in such a way. My student loans are paid off and my mortgage is paid off and my kids aren't giving me a hard time anymore. And now I'm like, it doesn't work that way. Because if your system is in the habit of ugh, it's just going to keep creating more ugh situations, right? Your vibe doesn't attract your experience. Well, it does, but your vibe is your experience. Wherever your vibe is, that's you. Wherever you go, bringing that vibe with you. If your energy level is a 6, it's going to keep being a 6, unless you become radically selfish and start claiming the things that are where and how you can, because it's in all the little things. It's not in the big things. It's in every single little thing you do and the habit of the vibe that you bring to it. And stop thinking it's about big things, because it's not. And a lot of it, guys, has so much to do with your breath, Because in the electric health model, you are getting most of your life force from breathing the plasma atmosphere, right? So when our energy is low, our breathing is shallow, we're probably holding our breath, we're probably holding the posture of victimhood, of repressed anger. All these things are like hunkered down this kind of place. And to get your battery meter all up, you got to be expansive. You got to be like, right? That makes me think of, I had the question go through my mind the other day that if God was a sound, what would that sound be? And obviously God, and if you take offense to God, watch Sonic Sunday #1, where I explain what I mean by that word and why I like it. If God was a sound, right? So then I started thinking about, I know God is every sound, right? But if we're going to dilute it into like our human instrument, our human body. And I realized that the sound ah is in almost every word that we attribute to the Most High, if you will, right? God, Allah, Yah, Yahweh, Buddha. And then even things like dog, pretty darn close to God. Ma, pa, right? It's this ah sound. What do you do when you relax, when everything is okay, right? When you feel like all is well, you're like, ah, ah. So, and then when I talk about like following your ah, right? That is following the path of light, following the path that brings the most ah into you. I'm going to start a whole new movement where we don't use any of these words that have charge, and we just talk about the ah, the ah of life, right? Yeah, and om, the beginning, the creation, the sustaining, the ending, om. Right? But I've never been a huge fan of I like better. It kind of suits me more. What is the sound of the goddess? I would say it's the same. I mean, it's almost like, yeah, life, right? Life is the combination of the masculine and feminine. And then the beyond, that is beyond that, right? The Trinity. The masculine, the feminine, and that which is beyond. So the sound of life, even like the first sound that we make when we're born is very often wah. So, yeah. So I guess let's maybe do a tuning to increase our resiliency by bringing in more right? And to raise our battery meter. Like it's such a simple New Year's resolution, if you will. I'm going to have more in my life. And that is going to tick a lot of other boxes for you. Your resiliency, your the amount of time that you spend in a regulated, coherent state. Feeling gratitude, feeling love, feeling compassion, feeling appreciation. It's really all of those things are in So, yeah, it's a beautiful exhale. I'm all for more resiliency and more Yeah. See, it just shows up everywhere. All right, so let's do that. Let me grab a fork and let's tune into listening to how we sound right now and all the things that are in the way, right, of our in the sonic anatomy, the work I do in Sing the Body Electric, the sound of the heart is ya. The sound of the throat is ha, ya, ha. I did a whole internal sounding session a few days ago, just sending the tone ya into every corner of my body. And I did it with thought, I did it with breath, I did it with sound. Right, and what is that? That's an invitation to bring the life force, saying yes to the life force in every fiber of your being, in every water molecule of your being, right? So let's do that together. And but first, before we start yawing, before we get our yahs out, let's just listen to, what's in the way of us feeling at liberty to increase the amount of in our being. Yeah. Okay, so go ahead, just close your eyes and take a moment to do a sort of internal scan of how you feel right now. Just notice, how does your heart feel? How does your chest feel? How does your body feel? What's your breath doing? What's the tone of your being? Is it flat? Is it sharp? Is it jangly? No judgment. Life puts us through all kinds of different things. And then let's just start to take some breaths together. So breathing into your upper chest and exhaling with some ahs. And feel how those ahs come out, right? Is it like and then now those ahs come out, it's going to tell you a lot about how your body is feeling. And then breathing into the middle belly, exhaling down to the ground. And then all the way down into the pelvic floor. If you're sitting, breathe all the way down, like press your butt into the chair. Good. All right, let's just listen. So if you're new to this, or if you're watching the recording, when I do this work, I'm listening to everyone who will ever listen to the recording, the thousands of people who will listen to this recording. The way the ether works is that I can tune into the collective vibe. And it's sort of like a bell curve, like the most represented vibe signatures tend to come through. So I'll just listen to and name some of the energies, beliefs, stories that are in the way of that beautiful big that you want to have. And the sound might cut out, but I still hear it, and the vibe of it is still transmitting. So I don't want you to concern yourself so much with what you're hearing or not hearing, but rather what you are feeling in your body as you tune into this transmission, if you will. Just see how and where that falls on your body. Thanks, Tom. Yes, it's my 174 fork. It's coming up. What are you feeling? So I'll tell you what I'm feeling. One is a kind of like hysteria, disconnected, up and out of the body. It's like, and that's a real helpless feeling. When we're like, it's like we don't feel safe or able to be grounded. We're not connecting with our breath. We're not being solution oriented. We're back on our heels. We're spun out. We're overwhelmed. We're in victim mentality and consciousness. We are triggered. We are, our feet aren't firmly on the ground. We're not looking for solutions, right? This makes me think about how Tony Robbins in one of his first books talks about how he went to car racing school, and how when he was in the simulator, his instructor was like, if you look at the wall, you're going to hit the wall. Don't look at the wall, right? You got to keep your eye on where you want to go. Stay on your toes, not back on your heel like I'm about to hit the wall, right? So that's what one of these feelings is that kind of like, I'm spun, right? That being in that state often is going to drop your meter really fast. So that's one of the feelings that I'm feeling, and maybe some of you can relate to that. I've had to really work hard with my team to get us all like on our toes, ready to kind of catch and field and throw. And another example might be, I was talking to a friend of mine about this, and she said, when I go back country snowboarding, I pick my path, right? If I just look at the trees, I'm going to run into the trees. So it's a real like forward stance of intentional determination to not hit the trees, right? And this is a real metaphor for life. Or where are you like, right? And think about the breath pattern that is going on when you're like, so that's one sound, and maybe some of you can relate to that. The other sound that I feel in here is a kind of stiffness, and that kind of goes along with it, right? If you are stiff or rigid, you're not going to bounce. You're not going to bounce. You're going to be offended. You're going to be frustrated. You're going to be, you're again not going to be breathing. The fluid flow and information flow and energy through your body is going to be reduced. And that's also going to impact your resiliency. This sound, this is sort of like, I'm just numb from all the bullshit, from all the ridiculous characters, from the news, from the everything in this world is so fucking sorry. I just can't take it, right? So I'm going to shut down. I'm going to go numb. I'm going to doom scroll. I'm going to eat junk. I'm just whatever. I'm just numb. I'm not alive. I'm not feeling my feelings. I can't even feel my own feelings because I don't even know what to do with them. So being numb is going to drop your battery meter. It is going to drop your resilience. How do you think numb shields? Put the numb shields up. Like, oh, like, so yeah, focus on what you want, not what you don't want. Focus on the solution, not the problem. Focus on getting to and don't feel guilty about it, right? So I think this is another, what I hear in here is this sort of like, well, I'm not worthy. I got to take care of everybody else. It's like a diminishment. It's a self-diminishment. We certainly have been conditioned to do that. Right? And that diminishment, that numbness, like, oh, it just makes me feel so scrunched in. It's really not a good feeling. In fact, I'm just liking it so much that we want to start to break that up, right? So this is a 144. This is really good at going in and breaking that sort of thing up. So let's just listen to this for a moment or two and notice what it's doing in your body. Invite it into your body, okay? And let it do whatever it wants to do to help you to become more resilient. And if you have any movement or desire or inclination to make any kind of sound, you can make yeah, ha, bah. Make a sound. And if you want or need to move, I get really wiggly. I can't help it. Do that. Yawn, whatever. Just be curious and open and let your body do what it wants to do. A lot of emotion here. There's like pressure across the shoulders, oppression, suppression, under the weight of that very much. So is there something in your body that wants to kind of rise up against that, shake it off? Like, feel the potential and in the latent strength that is there. Feel that you have in your body and your being the potential for your battery meter to be at 90 or above. You're not trying to get at love and above. We're trying to get at battery strength of optimization so that your shields are resilient and badass, right? You have that potential in you. Absolutely. Right? Why not claim it? Why not own it? What would you look like if your battery meter went from 7 to 90? And I'm not saying it's going to happen right now, but who would you be at 90? How would you be bringing good and light and strength and beauty and empowerment into this world? Right? Who is that part of you that is optimized in the battery level? And what is that part of you wanting to do to make this realm more harmonious? You're not doing anybody any favors by remaining in the habit of being small and weak. Power is not a bad thing. Coherent power is absolutely what you need and what the world needs. There's no reason to feel guilty in any way, shape, or form about claiming and owning the potential strength that abides in you. Let this sound come in and break up all of those structures that have been holding you in that diminishment. Rawr, yeah. It's okay. It's safe. It's safe. And shake out any of those places where patterns of tension have been holding you small and stuck. We need you as a full-on soldier in the army of harmony. Calling all my soldiers to get out of your pity party and into your power. That's it. Right, and it's a process. Like, I feel this. It's like, well, I try, and then something comes along and smacks me back down, or that's okay. Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. If something comes along and smacks you, just be a weeble wobble. Because hopefully all of you are old enough to remember those weebles wobble, but they don't fall down, right? Don't it's in that getting back up. That is resiliency. That is strength. That is what really matters at the end of the day, in the way that we get on top of and attack everything that needs to be done. Right? I keep my battery meter at 90 and above. Stay on top of all the things. I know I have that luxury. I do. But I also worked to create a life where I did, very intentionally. Good. And I'm feeling that harmony starting to arise. Right? I'm feeling that strength starting to arise in you. It's like starting to well up as a hell yeah. Well, and then a why not? Right? Why not? And some vestiges of fear. It's okay. That's why courage is so important. And we feel the fear and expand anyway with courage. Okay, a couple more of this one. Make some sound. I want to hear some ahs and echoing throughout the ether. How does that want to come out of you? And if you're in a place where you can't make the sound, just think it. Can you think with power and conviction? Can you speak You know, sound the that you want to feel, that you want to be. Like if everything was the way that you thought it needed to be in order for you to be fully you, what would that sound like? Right? Just and maybe the that is there is coming out instead. Maybe it's like that's okay. And just keep ahing until what comes out starts to sound more like you want it to. Whatever those first ahs are going to tell you how your body is actually feeling. You have the power to switch that up. And wherever that tension is, shake it out. Shake space and breath into those places where you've been holding, where the ahs aren't getting. I feel you all ahing. It feels good. Good. All right, let's try a different fork. Let's try the combination. This is one of my favorite combinations of the 222 and the 144. So I call these the peacemakers, right? The 144 is like, this is all the things that's wrong with you. I gotta help you to fix them. And the 222 is, I love you just the way you are, right? And when we combine these two, this is such a Buddhist approach, right? Bothism is saying yes to both things. Do you want the fries or the salad with that? I'll have both. Right? That's Bothism. So this is a Bothist set of forks. Let's listen to both of them and see what they do. Can we reconcile these opposites? Can we acknowledge that there are places in our body where there's room for greater harmony, while at the same time loving ourselves exactly the way we are? Huh? You can do both. That's it. Okay, I want you to take a nice, really big breath into the belly, middle belly, kind of behind the belly button. And then exhale with a big and just see how that comes out. Good. So what I noticed in doing that was that y'all got a lot more grounded, right? So feel your feet on the floor. Wherever you are, if you're sitting up, just really feel your feet on the floor. And we really want to bring this into embodiment, because the more you're in your body and you're moving from this central place and you're grounded, the more resilient you're going to be. It's a lot harder to push somebody over who's like solidly grounded versus somebody who's like, they go right over. We will all went down, right? So I want you to feel the groundedness that's coming. Yeah. From it's not easy for everybody to get down there into the feet. A lot of fear down there in those lower legs. Stuckness, stories, blah, blah, blah. Just be mighty. Breathe, exhale, down to the ground, down your legs, out your feet. Kind of blast out any noise or nonsense that's getting in the way of you being present and grounded. And Ah, ah, ah. All right, give it a good shake. If you've been sitting around like a corpse, just please get up and shake and move. To the best of your ability, shake it out. I'm going to do one more with these two. Good. All right, and now we're just going to do a couple with the 222. It's just hanging out in the fork of being. Okay, now I want you to really get a good visual on your battery meter. Let's just say it runs from your tailbone to your top of your head. And figure out where it was, where it's moved to, and now we're going to top it off. So I want you to open up the little sunroof on the top of your head. Imagine that I'm holding this 222 right above your head, and you're going to just really invite in light, like in this beautiful way that feels so right? And we're just going to let it come in, and we're going to let it fill up that battery meter, fill up the spine. And really use your intention, your imagination to feel this building inner illumination, that you've come to the filling station and we're getting topped off with the light of life force into your battery. And really just drink it in and feel worthy and able. Notice wherever there might be tension that's blocking it. Maybe behind that left shoulder blade, the back of the heart, a lot of gumming up that's there. Can you just let that drain out? And whatever stories or beliefs or distractions or noise in the signal that's inhibiting this perception of this free flow of energy into your body, it's just noise. It's all that it is. Just noise. Soaking it up like a sponge. I am worthy of a higher battery meter. I'm here to be a soldier in the army of harmony, and I better get my battery meter up so I can show up in 2025. There we go. Let it strengthen your heartbeat, right? What does it mean to be like lion-hearted, stout-hearted? Right? Strong heart, strong breath, resilient. Yeah. Okay, a couple more. I am resilient. I'm ever building my resiliency. My shields are getting stronger and stronger. All right, last one. Yeah, and remember that the quality of that light is joy. It is aliveness. It is illumination. It is kindness, compassion, gratitude. That is the nature of this light. That's how it is structured. Okay, I feel like we want one more. That's it. Okay, so in this last tone, just come back in, reflect, feel into your body. How's your breath different? And did your battery meter change? I see a lot more light when I open my eyes and look at all of you. A lot more. That's nice to see. But how do you feel? Let's drop a note, maybe where it was and where it went. right? This is the beauty of solstice work, is that, we are coming into a place of more light. We've been down at one end, in the dark end, for those of us in the northern hemisphere, and now we're moving towards the light together, which is nice. 50 to 80, 7 to 9. I will tell you that when you're down that low, it's hard to get back up. So even 2 points is something, right? And I would make it your determination and your commitment to keep going, one foot in front of the other, to be determined, to move forward with courage, to bring more into your being, because then you bring more into the lives of the people around you. I came across this really interesting quote recently. Sometimes you come across a sentence that really sticks in your mind. And it was, humans don't take up space. Humans create space. So what kind of space are you creating around you, right? It's a really interesting reframe, that you are creating space. What kind of space are you creating? We live in a collection of all our co-created spaces. It's okay to take up space, especially if it's beautiful and harmonious and helpful and useful and nice for you to dwell in, first and foremost. I'm feeling around 95 now. I love it. Yeah, it's a scale of 1 to 100. So we can get into the nitty-gritty of the details of it. Baby steps, 32 to 70. Isn't it interesting how the number just drops in, right? Your own knowing. This is part of why I don't use devices before and after tuning people. I've got some sitting over here. I've got a BioWell. I've got a heart rate variability thing. I've got a brain gym. I've gotten them. I play with them. I'm a scientist. I like, to play with stuff. But at the end of the day, your inner sense of how you are feeling is far more valuable to you and me than whatever some device that is a fraction of a joke compared to the magnificence of our human bodies and minds, right? Like, trust your own knowing. You don't need outside validation from technology to show you that you feel different, right? Human bodies are so amazing. 25 to 40. That's a great jump. Yeah. Yeah. We will be remembered as the ones who brought magic and unity back to the world. It's up to us, people. It really is. And if you are a light worker, a sound worker, a beautiful being, and you are stuck in your smallness, you're not doing yourself or any of us any favors. Like, I'm calling you to soldier up into your own empowerment, and to believe that you can, and to believe that you can find the resources to do that. In fact, speaking of resources to do that, I have 2 offerings that are in the comments section, not the comments, but the video description. One is I'm doing a 2-hour class in January called Into the Void. And I don't really know what that will be, just like I didn't know what this one was going to be. But it feels like a really important class to me. It's a similar format, except that it's 2 hours long. We have time for interaction, for Q&A, and all of that. And I'll be doing an hour-long, really deep and powerful tuning in that class. So I invite you to sign up for that if you want. And then if you also need some heartening, and you like Christmas songs and you like toning, currently available for free is a 90-minute event that Isaac and Torald and I did, our album release party. So I have an album out. It's not your kind of normal album. It's a toning album. It's called the Vital Voice Explorer. And it comes with a guidebook. It comes with the sonic anatomy maps. It's something that you can tone along with. And in our free Christmas party, we did sing-along Christmas songs and some tracks from the album, including the Motherline and Fatherline tonics, which are very powerful. So that's a 90-minute resource right there for you that's free. and that's really powerful. And of course, all my tuning forks are available at biofieldtuningstore.com. Yeah. All right. Awesome. So there's another place where the sound is, right? Awesome. All right. So this is my invitation to you for this new solar year as we move, those of us here in the north, towards more light, that you resolve for more awe, leading to more resiliency, keeping your battery meter up and keeping your shields strong. And I look forward to seeing you at the January Into the Void. And I got a bunch of live things coming up next year, so stay tuned. Come visit me at an event. I love to meet y'all in person. I give great hugs. And all right. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, all the things. Happy New Year, Happy Solstice. Lots of love. All right. Everybody stay well.